what's up YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Steph, growing in zone 6B. If you are here for the first time, welcome for the first time. So today I want to talk to you guys about fertilizer. I came downstairs and I was looking at my seedlings and they are dry, but it is time for some fertilizer. So I wanted to go over the different fertilizers that I use in my garden for what purposes, and show you when I fertilize my seedlings indoors before they go outside. So the first fertilizer that I use, well, let me backtrack. So first of all, for fertilizer, I use whatever is on sale. Organic and whatever is on sale. I don't use synthetic fertilizers typically in my garden, like the Miracle Grows or so forth. I don't see anything wrong with them per se. It's just not what I want to use for my garden. They are typically higher in NP and K. That's your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your potassium. And so because I prefer a slower release, I use organic fertilizer that is lower in those numbers. So I went to Home Depot and I got this Dr. Earth organic fertilizer. It is a 222. That's 2 nitrogen, 2 phosphorus, 2 potassium. So typically what I do is sprinkle some of this in my planting hole, mix it around. I never sit my plants rooted right on top of the fertilizer. I put it in a hole and I mix it around, or I will put it around the base of my already planted fruits and vegetables and flowers. I do this at the beginning of the season. I normally do it. Ooh. Sorry guys, it was a spider on me. So, anywho, it was a baby spider, but it was a spider on me. Anyway, that's what you get when your grow section is in the basement. Anywho, I put it in the planting hole. I don't put my roots on top of the fertilizer. I normally just mix it in the hole, or I put it around the base. What I notice is I kind of look and see, as far as when my plants need to be fertilized, I kind of gauge and look at them and see if they are yellowing, or if they are kind of wilty looking, or if they're just not growing like I think they should. I might give them a little fertilizer, but usually once I do it at the beginning of the season, I typically don't do it again for another probably 3 months, maybe. I do it like twice a season. Plants don't need as much love as people think they do. And a lot of times people run into the issue of over fertilizing. They say, oh, my plants are yellow, they're this, they're that, they're wilting. I better give them some fertilizer. And they tend to give them a lot of fertilizer, too much at once, from what I've seen, and I've made that mistake too. And really, you just need to back off of them and let them recoup. The next fertilizer that I'm going to talk about, let me look and make sure ain't no spiders on this bag, is this berry tone. Now, I know a lot of people say that you could just use an organic fertilizer, and you can. You don't typically need to buy this berry tone. I bought this berry tone specifically for my blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries. For the strawberries and the raspberries, I could have used my regular organic fertilizer. The reason that I didn't is because, mainly because of the blueberries. Blueberries require more acidity in the soil, and this berry tone fertilizer is slightly more acid. It doesn't have enough acid that will like drastically affect your plants. But when I read the ingredients, I noticed that it did have some acid in it, and so that's why I bought this. It still has the phosphorus, the potassium, and the nitrogen, but I just noticed that it had some citric in it as well, and some sulfur, 5% sulfur, and I really need that acid for my blueberries. So I'll be using this for my blueberries, my blackberries, my raspberries, and my strawberries. Like I said, if you don't have it, it doesn't matter. Your stuff will still grow without it. The first year I didn't have it, my stuff still grew just fine. I still yielded some fruit, but I think that this will make more of a difference. And this is a 434, so still very, very low in the numbers. And that's what I use, and it worked very, very well for me. Another thing that I use is this bone meal. This bone meal I use for my bulbing vegetables. So that's my turnips. I use it for my onions. I use it for my potatoes. And this bone meal, it'll just give it like a little bit more phosphorus. I noticed when I was doing my potatoes and I didn't use the bone meal, I didn't get as much of a yield, and I didn't get as large of a potato, and so they just grow a little bit better with this bone meal. Like I said, if you don't have it, you don't have it. Use some regular old compost if you have that. I know some people use black cow, use that, or use what you got. I bought this stuff kind of over time. I didn't buy it all in like one swing. Fertilizer can get very expensive, and so if you don't have it, I don't want you to think that your stuff won't grow. It will, and that's just what I use. And there's other alternative options for your nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium as well. So look into those options if you don't want to use what I've shown you. Another thing that I use is my fish fertilizer. This is a 511. Now I use this fish fertilizer all summer long. I normally use fish fertilizer every 1 to 2 weeks for my leafy green, really for everything. My tomatoes, my leafy greens, my corn. I don't use it so much for my root crops. I try to avoid putting it in the potatoes or my onions, like my carrots, turnips, unless I see the greenery really, really yellowing. That's the only time I use 511 on my root crops. But for everything else, I use that 511. That is my go-to fertilizer when I want to fertilize throughout the summer. So I use typically the granular organic fertilizer, the Dr. Earth's that I showed you, and I use that 511. And that 511 is 5 nitrogen, 1 phosphorus, 1 potassium. The last thing that I use that I put in my planting hole that I know some people put in their seed starting mix is worm castings. I don't use any particular brand, but I can show you, if I can get down here and pick it up, I can show you what I use. I use this Dr. Burns. There was no special like recommendation for this. I use that because I got it off Amazon and it was cheap, if I'm being honest. That's what I use. I put that in my planting holes as well. To me, the worm castings haven't made as much of a difference as, because I use compost. So if you are using compost, like at least for me, I haven't seen that much of a difference from using that and using compost. But people say it's great, and I put it in there, so I put it in there anyway. So as you can see, let's get into how I fertilize my seedlings. So here is a tray of my seedlings. As you can see, this is my chamomile here, and as you can see, it's starting to yellow here. It's starting to like turn kind of brownish. It's just not looking that great. See, I'm trying to get the chamomile in view. So here's my bee balm, and here's some feverfew over here, and here is some purple coneflower. Now I typically wait until my plants get it's at least its first true set of leaves before I fertilize them. Fertilize. Before then, they don't really need it. The seeds that the plants come in have enough to get them through until then. So as you can see, I'll show you these larger ones. There is like a set of leaves down here. That's its first set of leaves. And then up here is its second set of leaves. So that's when I fertilize. And even you can see on those larger plants, it's starting to look kind of yellowish. So I have them in my handy dandy baking dish. And you don't need to get real fancy with this. I fertilize with 511 when I'm in the house. Now, some people say it stinks real bad and that they don't want to do that. That's fine. You can find a nitrogen alternative. This is just what I do. Plus, it does stink, but it only stinks for a few minutes. It doesn't like stink up your whole house. Even when I had my grow section upstairs, it didn't stink up the whole house. So, I'm going to show you what I do. This is my 511. Seedlings need very, very little fertilizer. Very little. I mean, don't overdo it. So, I'm going to just... I pour that in there, in the top. That's all, that's how much I use. I put it in there like that. So that I make sure that I'm not giving it too much. And I pour my water in there. So I still got my vase that I use. And I just pour some water in there. And I bottom water and I let it sit. And it will give my little seedlings here some fertilizer. So like I said, it stinks a little bit. I don't really care that it stinks. For me, it's worth it. It only stinks for a few minutes. Like right now, I poured it in there. I can't even smell it anymore. So that's what I do. Even my onions and stuff while they're growing in the house, even though they're bulbing, I will give them the fertilizer, the 511, the nitrogen, so that they are really, really strong, have really strong greenery once they go outside. So, that's what I do. That's how I fertilize my seedlings. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I'll be doing more videos on how I prune, how I plant out my onions and whatnot. And I think that's it for now. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.